Hi, and welcome along to Steve Wraith's True Crime Podcast. Delighted to be joined by a very good friend of mine, Norman, the Guvnor Buckland. How are you, Norman?
It's always lovely. It's a pleasure to see you and to hear from you all the time. You're a top legend, mate. We all love you, and you're a top geezer. You're always there for people, like, and it's lovely. It's lovely to talk to you. You're a very fair and decent man.
Top man, great to see you. And I just want to say well done. Congratulations. A book out, Stormin Norman Buckland, the new Guvnor, written with a couple of friends of mine as well, Lee Wortley and Anthony Thomas. We'll come to that a little bit later on. And just great to see top man Freddie doing a little forward for you. He's the toughest street fighter alive. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he's great. I can remember the last time I saw you at Freddie Foreman's birthday party.
That's right, yes.
They're playing Jazz and Dave and everything. It was great. Do you know, I love Freddie Foreman. He's such a lovely guy, and he's the real deal, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, in his day, like, he was the most deadly man in London, like, probably the world. Like, this man was all over the world as well. He was in America for a while. Like, there's plenty of stories he can't tell us, like, you know what I mean? But we know he was the top man, like, probably one of the top assassins in the world, like, you know what I mean? But he's left that behind. He was born in the Second World War, where my grandmother used to say they used to come up from the limes when Hitler was bombing us, like, and after the bombing they'd come out to the street and there'd be like friends' bodies, like a dustman men picking up the bodies and little children, fucking heads and feet everywhere. That's the sort of lives they were born in, like, you know what I mean? So that's the sort of life they knew, that sort of life. And but I'll tell you what, Freddie is one of the nicest blokes you can ever meet in your life. And he's knocking on now. He's the last one of the boys, like, you know what I mean? He's the last one out there. We should all get together, like, and do something for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's hitting his 90th in March, which is another milestone for Fred. It's been a tumultuous period because I was seeing him probably once a month, coming up and down to see him, and unfortunately when COVID hit, I've only seen him once in the last 2 years. Managed to get down in April to see him, and he was well, keep in touch on the phone, etc. But yeah, Fred's a top man, and deservedly resting up now after a very, very interesting life, shall we say. But let's talk about your life, Norman. Where were you born, mate? Where were you brought up?
I was born in Aylesbury Duck. They used to call us the Aylesbury Ducks. And I come from a fighting family, the Bucklands. The O'Sullivans come from Cork, my mum's side. My grandmother's side were Coopers. They were gypsies, travellers, good fighters. Gypsy Jack Cooper, I think, was her dad. And somewhere along the line, there was a granddad or great-granddad. I mean, we're going back probably 200 years ago. Gypsy Jack Cooper, he was brilliant. They reckon he was unbeatable. Some of the family ended up over in Australia, and it wasn't a holiday. You know what I mean? That's the way it was. You know what I mean? There was a few accidents fighting. Gypsy Jack, he killed a couple of people. He done 6 months the first time. Bless, it's a hard sport. It's a dangerous sport as well. But it's like me. I'm not an educated man. That's the only way I could earn a living, like banging people out. I mean, I used to get paid. A bloke in Aylesbury, Harper Dale, used to have the old Vic pub. I used to work with a bloke called Dean Garrity. I went up to London with, but Ady Brooks, we used to do the door there, and he had trouble up London. I had to go up there one day and knock a fella out. I knew where he lived. I only had a picture of him, and the fucking geezer had a woolly hat on. He had a paper under his arm, a bottle of milk, like the old milk bottles, and he was whistling walking along the road, and I had a photo. I was only 16 years old, and I thought, I need the money. But I was fair about it. I did chin him, like. He fell over. People are walking all around. They didn't break us up or anything. They were walking over him as I was trying to wake him up, like. And I said, mate, you knew it was coming. He said, I knew it was coming. He said, what are you going to do with me? And he thought I was going to drag him in the car and do a Freddie Foreman with him. But I said, mate, listen, I'm not that bad of a geezer. Like, I said, listen, you know it's going to come. You know you're going to get hurt. I'm not going to hurt you. I'll just give you a slap and I'll give you a warning. You got to leave that woman alone, okay? That's, you know, she's got a Arthur Daly's missus, we used to call him. That's his missus now. And I'm a nice guy. But if they find out you only got a slap from me, they'll come up and it'll be someone like, we used to have the nutty blokes called Hungarian Frank or Mad Mick. And I said, he'll come up with an iron bar and break your arms and legs. I said, you don't want that. He said, come around for a cup of tea, like. He said, thank fuck for that, like. And he knew of me, even at that age, like. He said, I knew it was coming, like. He said, but fair play, Norman, thank you. He said, I'll never go back to Ellsbury again. And I've never seen him. But it was horrible, the things I had to do. But I needed the money. I wasn't educated. I couldn't go for an interview. I mean, a woodcutter or something, they wanted one day up the town. I went up there. And I couldn't even fill the forms in, like, you know, I didn't know how to. And they ended up, they were taking the piss, like, well, are you a cleaner, like, can you clean our cars? And he was insulting, like, and it hurt, you know what I mean? And it hit deep. And at the time, I was doing a lot of fighting around the town, and they would call me the governor, like, they used to call my great-grandparents the governors. And even my granddad, Buck, used to fight Barnet Fair, and he was the governor there. This is going back probably 100 years, nearly 100 years ago. And they used to call me to go. When I see Roy Shaw and Lenny McLean, I couldn't believe it. Like, it was better than watching a world title fight. You know what I mean? It was fantastic. And I thought, I want to grow up. I want to be like them one day. I was a governor anyway. But when I heard the belt was going, the Roy Shaw belt was going, I was up there. You know what I mean? And I had a word with Joey Pole, like, and they said, do you want to? And I was an old man there, nearly 50, like. And it was... I mean, I retired at 25. I was not like ABA champion. I fought for the home county. Like, you know what I mean? That boxing was my game. My brother boxed for England. My dad, he ran the club in Aylesbury. Like, it was good, very strict, like, you know what I mean? But so I had a few fights for Joey Pole, and he did help me out. God bless you, Joey. Thank you for everything you've done. I haven't thanked you for years, like, and Ricky English and all the boys that boxed there at Caesar's Palace. I loved you all. It was good shows. And I mean, the Mean Machine, there was a lot of things I can't talk about because I'm not a grass and I don't stitch people up. I think I learned that off Freddie Foreman. You keep your mouth shut. You know, and if anyone's attacked you, you take you know what I mean? You don't repeat. You know what I mean? Because these days, people will bounce off, well, you calling me this, what about you? You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And I say, look, you can say what you want, like, you know what I mean? And it was a good day. It's like looking. Can you remember that film Once Upon a Time in America?
Yes, I do, mate. Yeah.
It's like looking back on that. You know what I mean? With Joey Pole, Joey Pole.
Yeah, it was like it was Frankie Fraser and all of those days, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean the film was with Terry Stone and that, wasn't it? Yeah,
it's like looking back, flashbacks, like, you know what I mean? And I can remember I was with you once. And something happened. You had a row. You had someone had a go at you, like. And I can remember it was a big table of doormen, like. They looked like bodybuilders. Maybe there might have been 2 tables, but there must have been about a dozen of them or half a dozen of them. And I can remember Joey Pole saying, Norman, come here. I went over to him. Like, I had a bloke called Gary. I haven't seen him for a while. You lose contacts with people. A lot of boys and friends. I mean, the old firm, I love them. They're a good boys, like, you know. And I haven't seen them for years. I love you, boys. I will never forget you, like. You know what I mean? You were great, like. Same with the old man Joey Pole. After he died, things fell apart. You know what I mean? And we all went on.
Let's talk about the Guvnor title, because the one thing I guess you're going to put to bed in this book. When it, you know, it's out in, you know, it's out now as a pre-order, comes out this month in January 2022 and available on Amazon. The link is below. From your perspective, what is the real Guvnor belt? I've seen Gary Furby, because obviously he's a good friend of mine up in Newcastle, saying he's the Guvnor, but then we've seen other people saying that they're the Guvnor. What is the real Guvnor belt? What's all of this about?
Takes the Guvnor. The only person who can pass a belt down, a Guvnor belt down, is the Guvnor. You know what I mean? Now, my great-grandparents were governors, like, you know what I mean? Okay, I was the Guvnor before I won the Roy Shaw belt. So, you know, I was the Guvnor anyway. But that meant a lot. I mean, I still got it here. Where's the belt, Nanette? Can you show the belt off? Yeah. There's the belt. That's the one. The trouble is all being about all the time. Yeah. But that is not, it's not a Roy Shaw belt. You can see on it, it's actually the Guvnor's belt.
Yeah.
It was given to me as the Guvnor. You know what I mean? Plus, I was the street. I was a bare knuckle Guvnor anyway. I used to fight all the time. So this is the Roy Shaw Guvnor belt. What I won't part with, because I mean Joey's wrapped up with all that, and Ricky English and the old man Joey Pole. And I told him, I said, I'll never pass that on. It'll all be respected. That's your game. That's where you come from. It's a London thing, and I won't try and, you know what I mean? I won't take it further than that. So I've still got this belt, Joey Pyle. I've never give it on. I've got the Stormy Norman. Can you get the other belt, darling?
I can see that one just in the background there, yeah.
Right, you see Gary. Where's Gary Furby? You see him?
Yes, I can see him. Yeah.
There's Gary. Now that's my old family, like you know what I mean? The Stormy Norman Buckland belt. That's the bare knuckle belt, and we brought it out Spartan. We brought it out with Spartan with my old mate. What's his name now from Spartan? Christian Roberts.
Yeah.
Well, we brought that out, and that's to represent my family and the bare knuckle fighting. And there's a bit of a mix up, like, you know what I mean? Because that went to Gary, like, and that's my belt. I am the Guvnor, you know what I mean? And I passed it down the bare knuckle fight, but I've never interfered with Joey. This is the unlicensed Roy Shaw belt, you know what I mean?
I'd
like to think I even tell people, you know what I mean, it's the same belt Lenny had, but I don't know. I never see Lenny's belt, but because I'm a big fan of Lenny's, like I up him like as well. I love Lenny McLean. He's got a lovely family. Roy Shaw, Cliff Fields. Do you know, I hate saying I got nothing bad to say about no one. I love everyone. You know what I mean?
How do you think you would have fared against Lenny or Roy?
Do you know what? I wouldn't fight their daughters, let alone their sons. That's how much respect I got for them.
Yeah.
I think their daughters would knock me out, let alone their sons. So, you know what I mean? That's the respect. I will lower myself. I will lower myself down and pray to them, like, you know what I mean, on my hands and knees. I won't put myself up there, like, because I was a street fighter. Although I was an ABA champion, and I boxed, you know what I mean? I boxed for the home county and everything. I was good in my day when I was 25. We always have that. You got to understand, everyone has a day, 6 months or a year, when they're not scared of nothing and they'll fight anything or anyone. I was 25 and I was mining for Vic Bellamy. We was doing all the groups, Bruce Springsteen, Prince. I saw Lenny McLean on the Prince tour when we went to Wembley Arena. And I looked at him and I thought, what the fuck is this? And I was so impressed by Lenny McLean. I mean, the man looked as though he was 6'3" and about 23 stone. He had these great big hands as well. We was up there the night before and I had a bloke from Ellesby with me, an old mate of mine. Michael Dick. And he had trouble with the Wembley security, like they kept saying he can't go inside and outside. And I had a pass because I was minding for Vic Bellamy. We actually worked for Prince, and they're a little bit of dispute, like, and he wanted to fight them all. And I said, look, leave it out, gents. I said, let's leave it like this. You know what I mean? I said, we have got passes. We can go where we want. And I said, you know, you're a little bit disrespectful, like, but I'm prepared to leave it and just walk away, mate. Yeah, we just want to do our job. And of course, next thing I'm fucking Lenny McLean's up there the next night, isn't he? And I knew what he was up there. He was up there to present himself as like the Guvnor. You know what I mean? And he looked the bollocks, mate. His eyes, he looked. You know what I mean? He looks like Roy Shaw when it was Joey Parr's funeral. When he looked at me then, he looked around at everyone. He looked as though Roy Shaw, he wanted to rip arms and legs off people, then kill them. But Lenny McLean, the way he looked, he didn't have to say anything. People said he was a bully and he shouted about. I'll be honest, this was later on before he died. And he was so experienced at his game, he didn't have to. He didn't have to say anything. He looked, and that look said, don't fuck with me, boy, because I'll kill you. I went up to talk to him. I'm glad he walked away, like, because I was thinking I was about 16 stone at the time, and you got to size up to these people straight away. You got, how am I going to fucking handle him like? And what I used to do is run as fast as I can, about 15, 20 miles an hour, and aim for the gut with your head and throw all your body into them. And it don't matter even if there was 6 people standing there. I used to do it when they was drunk in the pubs, like they'd kick off. I used to aim for the middleman, like, and take the rest of them down. And I thought I'd hit Lenny in the gut as hard as I could with my head, and I think I'd probably bounce off him. I thought he'd probably grab my fucking head and throw me over his shoulders. People say they were bullies, but they didn't have to bully, like, not towards the end, like, there was such a big reputation, like, you know. But Roy, I was mates with Roy as well. I love Roy to pieces, and his family. His son reminded me of him because he looked like him. You know what I mean? And his daughters are lovely. They had a little bit of a problem, and Joey pulled me out. He said, it's dealt with, Norman, like, you know what I mean? Keep away. And it was dealt with, and I'm glad I kept away, like, because I was a bit pissed off. I won't go into that. Like I said, I won't disrespect anyone. I've never got a bad word. And I do love, for my nature, I love everyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to argue with anyone. But it's a fucking hard life being a lecturer.
It is, mate. It is. When you were at school, you know, did you do well at school? Did you stick in? Or
no,
you know?
I mean, we had problems. I mean, the mum and dad, we were split up from the mum and dad from an early age, me and my brother. My brother's an hard bastard. He's a big mason now, and he does all right for himself. About 7 years of age, we got sent off to Spain to live with my grandmother, like. She's an old East Ender. Well, she ended up in Kentish Town, but her dad was Gypsy George Cooper, and I think the granddad or great-granddad was Gypsy Jack Cooper. So she was a hard bastard. She used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and put the fruit stalls out. You know what I mean? Where Hitler, the night before, had blown the city up. You know what I mean? That's the sort of life she had, and that's how... And when me and my brother, even a fucking argument, or if she had a bad mood... She was 74 years of age. She had this snakeskin, this stick, and she used to beat the fuck out of us. Like, I mean, my brother used to scream like mad, but towards the end, I got used to it. It never used to hurt me. And when I used to laugh at her, she used to beat me more. But then she'd give up. And my dad used to say the same. He never used to beat me all the time. But he said, Norman, he said, it's not worth beating you. You don't feel nothing, like. He said, I come out with bruises, my thumbs and my knuckles cracked and everything, and you end up like, and it's not the toughness I was, is that I could take a hiding. I could fight a dozen people, or maybe a dozen people at the most. I'm never saying over a dozen. And during a fight, I'd take probably more of a hiding than what they would, but I'd carry on like normal, like, you know what I mean? There was one fight at Brixton, like, I had a fight with all the brothers up there, and they actually knocked the jaw off my head, like, and as I was shouting at them, I couldn't shout properly because my jaw was all over the place. Another place, they had baseball bats, so they broke my arms, and I couldn't throw straight punches. I was a naughty fighter towards the end because the odds were against me. I did carry gas on me and stuff like that. I remember once in the toilets, I was coming out, my mate Ginger, he's dead now, he used to do all the... He was working the raves as well, Sunrise and Back to the Future, all over London. I mean, who were the boys in the city? The boys in the city, they come and work for who was his name? Colton
Leach.
Yeah, I'm sure it was those boys. Yeah. But I'm thinking who we used to work for on Sunrise, Back to the Future.
Right.
Tony Colton.
Oh,
Tony
yes.
Colton, yeah.
Got you.
And it was, we used to just go into London and they just could find a building from somewhere and they used to have paperwork, put the electric on, the water, and that was it. It was alive. But in the city, when we went into their part, they come up and they were good about it. They, you know, we had a good team. We could get 200 doormen together, my brother, like, you know what I mean? And they said, look, would you like us to do the security and we'll find the venues and you pay us? And that's the way we work with them, like, and that's the same all over London. You know what I mean? And it was great. But in the meanwhile, I mean, I was doing it's not brilliant, but the Jackson Dur, the Prince Dur, Bruce Springsteen, Oh, even I remember Bros. Like I love Bros. I think they were brilliant. People used to laugh when I used to even mind for. Remember the Monkeys? Hey,
Yes.
the Monkeys. They made a comeback. I'll tell you, who's to mind for as well. Oh, this is funny. You'll laugh at this. Shaky Stevens.
The Green
In
Door.
Oxford. They had me up there one night. I had to watch the door, like, you know what I mean? And when I went onto the stage and looked after him, he said, never mind my monkey here, like. And I thought, you cheeky bastard, like. But there's a lot of stories, like, you know what I mean? The firm, Joey Pole, we fell out for a while. I think it's over this stupid belt, like, but it's not a stupid belt. I love it to pieces. I mean, I was never nothing clever, like, you know what I mean? They called me the Guvnor, but when Roy Shaw passed me the belt down, bless. Here we go. It's got the Guvnor on there. I felt like I was somewhere, like, and he patted me, and he used to talk to me. And the old man, Joey Pole, I loved him. We all loved Joey Pole. I was there at the funeral, like, when he got buried, and young Joey's there. It must have took him a long time to get over the death of his dad. And I want to say that no matter we've had our ups and downs, you know I'm always there for you. It's a phone call away. You can phone me 24/7, even if we want to kill each other. It doesn't matter. I'm here for you all the time. And the firm, like, you know what I mean? And like Dave, I was speaking to Dave about it, like, and Dave said, why don't you just phone Joey up, like, you know? And something happened. I think I put one of Joey's pictures or something, and he just contacted me and left the number, and I phoned him up, and like he said, like me, we're old now. We're getting on. We've had some good times. We were good mates. And this is what all of us has got to remember, you know what I mean? You know, let's bury the hatchet on things, like, you know what I mean? Let things go. And I keep going back, and it's Once Upon a Time in America, like, where he goes back in the past. And I can remember Ricky running up, like, and he's just you was there, and these boys, they're great big fucking bodybuilders. And Ricky put a fork out or a knife or a spoon or something. And he's the big fella with him said, Ricky, what the fuck Joey, what are you doing with that young Joey Pole? And he said, I had to grab it off the table. That's all we had. And lucky enough, like, it all got sorted out. I don't know what happened there. And I'll never say what happened, but it was all sorted out, and they went back to their tables, and Joey got a telling off. Joey, what the fuck you pulled that fork or that knife out? And my head keeps going back to those days. Or when he used to kick off in Caesar's Palace. And I'd be in the ring, and young Joe would say to me, Norman, we got to walk through the crowd. I said, which way? I said, I've just kicked off of them and hammered a few of them. He said, that's the way we're going, right through the middle. I was going, all right, boss. And I remember then when I was talking to Joe, we fell out. He said, Norman, we were mates. We were good mates. And we had good times together. And, you know what I mean? I got a lot of respect for the man. I got a lot of respect for him. Joey Pole, Ricky English. Oh, they were all there, like, you know, and the Lambrano brothers. I think we went. You was there at his funeral, weren't he?
Yeah, I was. Me and Christy and Simpson both organised the funeral for Tony Lambriano. Yeah.
Yeah, and I helped Matt Legg out in prison when he was a young kid come in, but he was a big boy, and he never fought before. He used to fight in the street, and he said, "I want to be a professional boxer. Can you teach me?" And we had no gloves. This is in Wood Hill. I can remember that because Charlie Bronson was down the block. And some of the boys, when they misbehaved, they put me on the YP wing because they had a lot of trouble. There was a lot of bullying there, and there were stabbings, and people were getting hurt. And a couple of boys, one boy committed suicide. And it was the listeners, like, said, look, Norman, can you go on the wing? They said, it's fucking deadly on there. They said the screws are having fucking trouble, like. And I had total respect for the screws, like, because they had to do their job, like, you know what I mean? And they said they're having trouble, like. It's fucking scary, like. And I didn't really know what I was about, you know what I mean? I was a big fucking bruised doorman, like. Well, towards the end, when all the raves was going, towards the end, when the drugs are heavy, like, I knew I was going to get shot. There was death threats, you know what I mean? I had a fight with McPhee, and they were going to kill me, like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say no names or whatever. And I ended up packing a 12-bore, like, I sawn off 12-bore, kept it in my jacket, pulled it out a few times, let a few shots go out when I wanted to know that I was armed, you know what I mean? if they're coming for me, what they were coming for me, that they'll get it back, like, you know what I mean? And that's the way I was in a level of my own. It was nasty. And going away, I got put away, like, I did go lunatic, like, and I met the bloke. He come to the house. He was an hard nut as well. He come to the door and he had makeup on and a fucking wig and a skirt. And this bloke was a local hard nut. And I couldn't fucking believe it. I pulled the 12 ball, like, he shit his knickers. He had knickers on as well, pink knickers. And the stench was terrible. And as I went to shoot him, like, he fell down, he fainted completely out. And I fucking laughed. I pissed myself laughing. I couldn't believe it, like. And I can remember when I went back to my car, I shot his car up on the way back as well. And, you know what I mean? They put me away for a few years. I deserved to go away, you know what I mean? You know, I was running about with a sort of 12 ball, like, they were going to kill me, I was going to kill them, and it was stupid. And went away. In prison, it sorted me out, like, the screws are good, they looked after me. Matt Legg come along, a few boys, I turned Matt Legg into a great boxer, bare knuckle boxer. Before he boxed, he was bare knuckle, just like I did, like, I'm a family, and that's the bare knuckle belt. That's my belt. That's Stormin Buckland belt. Well, as you can see now, who have I passed it down to? Who have I passed the belt down to, darling? Gary Furby.
Yeah.
Now, I can remember Gary back in our days when we were friends years ago. Gary Furby was boxing. You used to bring him down, didn't you?
Yeah, I managed Gary back in the day, yeah.
Fucking hell, what a boy, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He'd
good
fight
fighter,
anyone. He'd fight he would fight. And I can remember he was small, about 5'10", and about 13.5 stone, pushing it 13.5 stone. He was like a Roy Shaw, a blown up middleweight. And some of these boys, the big bloke from Wales, Growth, what's his name? Steve Garrett. I would like to say about Steve. Steve was very underestimated. People didn't know what he was about. This man had been in with world champions. He'd fought fucking the light heavyweight world champion twice. What was his name, Nanette?
James Tony.
No, not James Tony. That was Matt Legg what fought him. Steve was fantastic. What a fucking good boxer he was.
He was an entertainer, wasn't he? He was an entertainer.
He didn't mind if he lost or won, like, you know what I mean? But if someone was a little bit tasty, he would take them for a proper fight. He would give them a proper fight, you know what I mean? And, you know, he'd lose and he'd win. He didn't really mind. But when I saw Furby up against him, like, and Furby, fuck me, he went for him, didn't he? He really went for him, like, you know what I mean? And then I saw him fight an ex-European professional boxer, and I don't think he done too well against him. He got told he had to lose. Fucking hell. You know what I mean?
He fought Sven Hamer as well. He gave away about 7 stone in that fight.
He gave away 7 stone. He got tipped off. He had to lose. And but Steve was a good boy. Steve, I mean, I didn't want to fight Steve, although I never said nothing. He was never on the cards for me, and they never put us together. And I was grateful because he was a very, very good professional boxer. And I was just an ex-novice boxer, an ex-amateur boxer, and, you know what I mean, a bare-knuckle fighter. And I didn't have the skills as a good boxer, you know what I mean? But yeah. I didn't care. I was a street fighter, you know what I mean? And I knew I weren't going in there to fight 3 or 5 people. All I had to do was beat someone up. And to me, it was an easy walk. I weren't going to get hurt. And I knew they were going to go down with a body punch sooner or later. You know what I mean? But, I mean, Caesar's Palace, all the boys were boxing there, win or lose, you know, professional or amateur or novice, total respect to them, like, you know what I mean? I mean, the top table, there'd be about 50 old gangsters sitting down. Can you remember that?
Yeah, it was like a who's who of the London underworld.
And it would be all the top gangsters. I couldn't believe it. When they used to sit me up there and I'd say, no, I'll sit down here, because to me, I'd never meet a top celebrity, like a top film star, but a top gangster was a top celebrity to me, like. And when they sat me down with Joe, the old man Joey Pole and Roy Shaw, you know what I mean? It was like God's been with God's, like, you know what I mean? it was something else. I had so much respect and so much love. I mean, even the craze, like, okay. I mean, if kids are watching this now, I'm going to say to the kids, like, some of the things we've done weren't good, like, you know what I mean? And some of the things the craze done weren't good. It was wrong, like, and I don't model yourself on us or them because it was wrong. But we had to do what we had to do. We had to earn a buck or two. And, you know, it's not as if I was a thief or a grass or a fucking sex offender or anything. I had to beat people up, and some of the people were nice guys. And some of the people were really horrible, like. But if it was the nice people, like, you know what I mean, I always apologised to the families and told them, look, you know, if I never done it, they would have got someone else who would have taken liberties, like, you know what I mean? And, I mean, some of the people, McPhee, he killed about fucking 7 people, I think, what they knew of. I mean, there was a lot more people he took care of, like. So when I was fighting bare knuckle, it was staying alive. You know what I mean? And I can remember when I used to fight, even when I was winning easily, I used to think I was losing because I feared losing because you could end up dead on the street somewhere, like. And we used to work all over Liverpool. Who we do? We'd done everyone. And I can remember fucking Howard Jones, not Howard Jones, that was Leroy Dennis. My mate used to mine for Howard Jones. The guitarist, the famous guitarist, married the Beatles, went out with the Beatles' girlfriend. Who's that now? The drummer used to play the drums with him, like, was oh Jesus, completely gone now, like. He was a top man in his day, like. And he used to have his miners, and I used to go up there, the Royal Albert Hall, and work for him up there. Oh, we used to work all over the country, mate, all over the country.
Was that your favourite kind of work, doing the close protection and looking after celebrities?
Yeah, it was, but I was there because a lot of the swag, the bootleggers, like, used to go in and sell their T-shirts, do up Liverpool or, you know what I mean, Wembley, and it wouldn't be a few T-shirts; it'll be thousands of T-shirts. Now you can remember them selling thousands of T-shirts when the concerts would be thousands of people's over a week or something. That would fucking work into hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. You know what I mean? In time, like. So I'd have to get their van and take all their T-shirts off them. I think I was working on the wrong side, really. And then we used to call them pirates, and we used to call it swag. And we used to look after the merchandise, you know, for big people, like, you know what I mean? These are the top people. And we'd have to take all the merchandise off. I used to mine for them as well, look after their merchandise. And they used to get minders in. And the fucking minders were hard bastards, like. And I always end up fighting with the minders. And sometimes you had the odds against you. It depends how much of a team you got with you. But we never used to work with the old Bill. And I can understand them losing 1,000 T-shirts. That's like £5,000, like, you know. So they would put a fight up. I mean, when we went up to Manchester, they kicked the van door open. We had the swag in the back, the pirates. And someone come out with a fucking shotgun, started shooting that. And everyone shit themselves. So Manchester was tricky. Liverpool was tricky. All over London, down Southampton and everywhere we worked. And we'd sometimes, even when we finished there in the evening, we'd go on to work the raves. And all the pubs in Kentish Town, Camden Town, for Charlie Beer, Red Hot Security. I used to do that as well. So I was just on my toes all the time, like. But I wasn't a bully. I didn't want to hurt people. And I had to hurt people at the time. And my heart goes out to the people I had to hurt and their families. I'm sorry. I mean that I've got a conscience, like, and at the time I didn't like it. And now I didn't like what I used to do. But I had to do it. Please forgive me. You know what I mean? It was the way of life. You know what I mean? I should have known better. But I wasn't robbing you. It's not as if I was robbing your house or stealing your car, or seeing your missus, or fucking, you know what I mean, doing something perverted or anything, like. It was a part of life, like, and I asked for forgiveness. I'm sorry, but it was the way it was, like, you know what I mean?
Who was your toughest opponent in the ring?
Eh?
Who was your toughest opponent in the ring?
Well, out the ring, it was McPhee. McPhee wasn't a big fella, but he was like a bull in the china shop. He fucking this bloke. But I've got a gym down the bottom here, like I don't use it so much now. It's the gym in the barn. It's called the Guvnor's gym. A lot of the boys come down here. I'll tell you who the hardest boy I've had in the ring. Before James Toney's fight with Matt Legg. Can you remember Matt Legg?
Yeah.
He fought James Toney and he fought AJ. And just before his fight with James Toney, what I believe was 5 times world champion.
Yeah.
And what do they used to call him out? Lights out James Toney.
That's right.
Well,
Lights
James
out.
Toney was reckoned to be even Tyson used to say James Toney was the best defensive boxer in the world. Now, Tyson lost at Holyfield. Holyfield went on to fight James Toney, and James Toney knocked him out. And then Matt was come down here, like, and I said, nice little light training, like, we'll go a few rounds. I think I've got the video. I still got the tape somewhere. It's up there somewhere on Facebook. And he said, yeah, nice one, Norman, nice and easy. Fucking hell, even his jabs, they were hitting me, and you could see my eyes, like, and you could see my head going back with each punch. And I was trying to get in there to the body punches, and it turned quite vicious, like, you know what I mean? And I thought, what the fucking hell's up with him, like, you know? And after the fight, I said, Matt, I said, fucking hell, I said, those punches, even the jabs, they're fucking, you know, they would have taken anyone out. They would have taken anyone out. And he said, yeah, he said, I'm fighting James. I said, James Toney, 5 times world champion, beat Holyfield after he beat Mike Tyson, after Mike Tyson beat everyone. I said, and you're sparring with me? He said, yeah. He said, I knew you'd bring out the best of me, Norman. And so after sparring with him, like, you know, and there was other professional boxers I used to spar with as well, but Matt Legg was the hardest bloke, like, you know what I mean? He was tough. And he didn't have much experience as an amateur. He had a handful of fights. He was novice light heavyweight champion. He got to the finals of the ABA. And everyone they fought as a pro, they were the best. You know what I mean? And he didn't win. He didn't lose many fights. But he lost against James Toney. He lost against AJ. But that's quite obviously, like, you know what I mean? You know, they were very special boxers. But that's the hardest bloke I've ever boxed, ever got in the ring with, like. And it's unbelievable because as a kid I used to train him bare knuckle, and it was great on the YP wing. They put me on there, and they said, Norman, it's uncontrollable. Fucking things are getting taxed. And you could see the bullies there waiting for the boys to come out of the shop, and they'd take everything, just mug all the boys, like, you know what I mean? And they'd put razor blades in soap, and a few kids were sexually assaulted, like, by the gangs. And Woodhill was a good prison, and I respect all the screws and the governors were there. But they did. The listeners said, "Look, even the screws want you to go on there." And I said, "Well, I'll go on there." I said, "Who am I supposed to be? What, like the Crays? Do I?" They said, "You don't have to act like Freddie Foreman or the Crays or anything. Not Lenny McLean, not Roy Shaw. Just you. Just go on there. Just be yourself. That's all you got to do." So I walked on the wing. I don't know, about 60, 100 people to a wing light. I saw one of the young lads come out with his fucking sweets and whatever he had, like, and the boys come up and just take it off him and push him aside. And I went over to about half a dozen of them, maybe a dozen. I said, you lot, go on, fuck off out of it, you little cunts. Go on, fuck off! Get out of it, I'll fucking bash the lot of you. Sorry, love, she tells me off. And they all fucked off, like, you know what I mean? And I walked in the middle of the wing line and I said, come out, you fucking cells. Get out of your cells now. This is my gap. I'm the fucking governor. This is my wing. I'm taking over. You lot, go out there and pay attention. And I got them all down Matt Legg as well. I had them standing in lines and said, right, this is my patch now. I've taken over, like. And it was great. It was something off an old fucking gangster film. And I didn't know the type of person I was, like. All I had to be is myself, like. And even the screws, they were looking down, smiling, like. And I was on remand. They kept me there for 2 years, like. They wanted to keep me there to the end of my sentence. And they were good to me. The screws are good. The YPs are good. And I told them, like, you know what I mean? I said, they're all watching you now, screws. The screws are watching you. I said, if you misbehave or upset them, I said, they'll send you the furthest prison away in the country. Your parents won't be able to come and see you. Your grandparents won't be able to come and see you. And you'll get a fucking hard time. If you behave and show you can behave yourself, I said, they'll put you in a, you might even get Springfield lights, you know what I mean? Spring Hill prison or an open prison. I said, they'll look after you, but you can't fuck the system. And I knew you couldn't beat the system. And it was terrible. They'd talk to me like some of the kids were sexually abused. Some of the kids are raped. I'm surprised they never told anyone, like, you know what I mean? But I suppose I've become like a father figure, you know what I mean? And I loved them. If a boy got beat up on a visit or something, or out the wing, like, I used to go straight on the other wings, 1A or 4A or whatever. And I used to go in there and kick off, like, and I'd say, listen, who's it one of my boys? And I used to call them my boys. Who's it one of my boys? And they used to come up like 3 or 4 of them, like, I said, what are you doing beat my boys up? I said, they're YPs, they're kids. I said, we should be an example to them. We've got to teach these boys. If you don't stop them now, they'll have a lifetime. And these fucking perverts, these fucking rapists, these fucking nonsense, like, I'm sorry, I need to calm down now, you know. Some of these kids in prison, like, I love like my own kids, and they'd be sexually abused, and their life would be the rest of their life in prison, like, they'd suffer mentally, they'd be tortured for the rest of their life, you know what I mean? And it wouldn't go away, and it fucking hurt me, like, I feel like crying, like, and I felt like in there, like, and just say, look, it happens. You know what I mean? We get abused. We've got to leave it behind now. You've been sexually abused. It's history now. Now let's get on, like, you know what I mean? We had one bloke we called Joe Knight. He come in, like, and the screws come and got me. They took me into the room, like, so there, and he was nearly pissed his way. He did piss himself. He looked like Joe Knight. And I said to Matt Legg, what the fuck am I going to do with him? I spent a fortnight with him. He ended up one of the hardest blokes on the wings. And that's what mentally you can do to people. Matt Legg, he was a big, powerful boy, but he was just a boy off the street. He could handle himself. And I used to say one day, I used to see things like, you know what I mean? Fucking stupid. I don't know, maybe because I'm thick, I see things. Just brightness, like. And I said, Matt, I can see you fighting these 2 world champions. And I said, there's lights on you, like. And there's these 2 blokes are world champions. I can't remember if he ever. I said, you're turning pro, mate. You're going all the way there. He said, no. I said, I can only tell you what I saw, mate. And the kids, like, you talk to the kids and you put something there, like, you know what I mean? Maybe sometimes you've got to make things up. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you give them a conscience. You give them something there, some sort of strength there, like, you know. And this bloke, Joe Knighty, no one would fight him after a couple of weeks. So I got into his head, but then I had to slow him down. I said, Joe, you can't fight everyone with your glasses on. And one day he got in a fight, he lost one of his glasses, on his pair of glasses. I was going, you see, you won't listen to me now. I said, I built you up and you've gone over the top. He said, I'm sorry. And some would call you dad or uncle, like, you know. And I had a bloke who come in to me, he said, you look like Perry. Is he related to you, Perry or Terry Buckland from Kentish Town? And I found that he was a cousin of mine from Kentish Town. He got a life sentence. He was a proper Buckland. He didn't commit the murder. One of his mates did. But he took the rap for it. He got a lifetime in prison. He'd done the 15 years. He could have gone to appeal and grassed his mates up. But that's the sort of family we were. You know what I mean? Like with young Joey Pole, like, I've never said nothing wrong about him. I know everything what went wrong. You know what I mean? Things what happened and everything. And even the time when he told me to keep out of it, like, he said that man will be gone in 6 months. And I thought, well, fuck me, the bloke disappeared in 6 months. I shit myself. I thought I'm going to get the blame for that. But Joey, he said to me, keep out of the way, keep out of it, I'll warn you. And I thought, this bastard, I'll have him, like. And he didn't have to. And I thought, Jesus Christ, they're proper geezers. You know what I mean? And he couldn't take the place of his dad, but I still have the love and respect for him, his family, for the firm, for all the boys that used to be there. The fight is what won, the fight is what lost. You know, and you guys, you know, when you come down from North, I mean, you come down, Paul Sykes was there once, wasn't he?
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he come down, Paul Sykes. Yeah. You'd meet, and you know, I'd be there. Someone who's never had an education, and I'll be meeting American gangsters, the top British gangsters, like, you know what I mean? They couldn't have got no bigger than, and I felt privileged and grateful for what I met. Maybe they were gangsters, and maybe, like I said, some of the things we done was wrong, like, you know, and I regret it, and I'm sorry, but I've moved on now. I'm 60 years old. I've ended up with a beautiful Filipino lady, what I've married, and I love her. And if it means I had to go through a lifetime of shit to marry my wife and be happy, then that's okay, mate. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'll let you do a bit of chatting. Come on.
Fair play to you, mate. No, listen. Tell us a little bit about the acting. You've done a few films.
Yeah, I've done a few films. I was in I think you was in Killer Bitch, weren't you?
I was, mate. Yes.
There was a few old gangsters in that as well. Yeah, a few of the old. My mate Manny Clark. I used to go over Hemel, and I walked in this pub once over Hemel, and Manny Clark's dad was there. He thought I'd come to get him, but he was in the film as well. I think everyone was in the film. The old cage fighter. What was his name? Don? Alex Reed. Yeah, he was a lovely geezer. Okay, he was ex-army. But, you know, I'll give him credit, you know. He come down here with one friend, like, and there must have been about 30 or 50 of my mates. And some of the dangerous people down the gym here, like the Guvnor's gym. And he come down and he stood his own, like. And the shots they showed on the videos and that, he did show me getting the better of him. But at times, I come on stuck. Remember, he went for a world title as well, like. So, you know, and I was explaining to him, like, about the speed. Throw the speed first and the power comes after. And I can remember he'd done this whizzing back kick. And I said, what's that, mate? I said, look, if you're going to kick me, fucking kick me, mate. I did underestimate him. And I can remember he'd done this flying back kick, knocked me back about 3 foot, and I was laughing at him. And 3 months later, I could still feel the kick where he hit me in the belly, like, you know what I mean? He wasn't a lightweight. He was a tough guy. I have respect for him, like, you know. And there are other guys come down, other fighters. Who was the other? Billy Hutchison, combined service champion. He trained me. The bloke over Tame. And the Bletchley Wills, I boxed for them. A.B. Goldsmith's gym. I remember the old pros. Tony Wright used to come over and spar with me. He was a good boy, Tony Wright. He fought Stephen Wilson. Stephen was a banger, he was. There was Vic Wright, turned pro. I took him up to his first pro fights. Vic Wright was a good ginger with red hair, bless him. I used to work on the door with him, very bad-tempered. I used to tell him off, like, I said, you can't keep fucking... When people used to shake me hand, it used to be pride. You know, like the old traveller fights, they always shake hands after, don't they? Yeah. When it's over. Or if they had enough, they'd come and shake your hand. I didn't know that, although I come from Travellers. I think it was up north, one of the fights up north. It could have been with that fucking bloke who killed 6 or 7 people. He'd had enough. It went on for a long time. It went on for, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe, the fight. And we were both cut up and badly hurt, like, you know. And he put his hand out. And this is what you're supposed to shake hands and you've won. They've surrendered. But I can remember him. I thought, you fucking bastard. All my lips are ripped. My eyes, he tried to rip my eyes out. I was just as bad. I was a very dirty fighter. And, you know, I always wanted to kill people in fights. It was terrible. I'm glad I never did because I'd never lived it down. And I remember he put his hand out. And I said it the other day in a gypsy fight, like, but I pulled him towards me and headbutted him at the same time. And they were booing, the crowd were booing, like. And I thought, well, fuck, are we trying to kill each other? He killed 7 people. What do you expect me to do? You know, shake his hand. The man's trying to kill me. And they booed a bit, like, but he got back up. I said, okay. I said, all right, mate. And I shook his hand. And he didn't come down with a team either, like, you know what I mean? He had another fella with him. He was an hard bastard, like, he was fucking hard. And some of the boys, like, I fought, some of the northern boys, all over the country, they were top boys. I can't remember. Half the time I used to box, amateur box, I couldn't even remember where I used to box, who I used to box, to what weight. But the old man, when I used to box under my old man, you know, he wouldn't give half a stone away or anything, like, and the fights had to be equal, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way he was. He'd always see me up against someone a little bit better. I'll let you get a few words in because I don't shut my mouth up.
No, listen, this is what people want to hear, and this is a really good podcast. We're coming towards the end, mate. You brought a book out, so this is the cover.
Yeah.
And to be honest, mate, I'm sure this has got as many stories in and double or treble the amount of stories you've already told today. You've given us a bit of a flavour of it. How did the book come about?
Lee contacted me, a bloke called Henry from Milton Keynes. What's his surname?
Is it
Henry Simpson?
Oh, Henry Simpson, yeah.
Yeah, and there was Lee as well, Lee. And Henry, he used to come down the Agora. They had me in a big shopping centre working there when I just got out of Nick. And the man, Mr. Man there, he just got put away for a multi-million-pound fraud or so. He's probably out now. But he used to have all the arcades in Milton Keynes. And he'd keep getting robbed, and people used to throw tomatoes at him. They used to come into the great big shopping centre, the Agora. And he called me once and said, Norman, you come and work for me, please. I pay you. And it was good money. He looks after me. And I used to look after the arcades around the country. And like I was his personally, to begin with, I was his personally security. Like I used to follow him about, and fucking hell, he earned millions. I don't know. I think he sent half it back home, like, you know, I don't know what he done, like, but Mr. Man was a lovely fella. Henry would be on the scene, like, and he'd clock me, like, you know what I mean? He was friends with, he knew the craze as youngsters, like, growing up, like, you know, he knew, he knew Roy Shaw, he knew Lenny McLean, and he kept his eye on me. Yeah, she don't like me naming names.
Yeah.
And, he used to pull me aside and say, Norm, what are you going to do, mate? I said, well, I'm working here. Like, you know, Tony, I'm doing the raves for him. Charlie Beer, I'm doing it. He said, but Norman, you got to settle down now, mate. You ain't got a good woman, like, you know. I met the ex-wives. They were lovely women, like, you know what I mean? Although we fell out, I don't slag anyone off. Don't slag no one off. I mean, McPhee did try to kill me, and I did headbutt him when he put his hand out. But I'm fucking lucky I'm still alive. I'm just grateful I'm still alive. How you know what I mean? How I'm not dead, I don't know. You know? Yeah. And I can remember Hartlepool, the tax man. He used to talk about the tax man in Hart. I know him now. He's a lovely geezer. Yeah, and I had some friends from Hartlepool now. He used to talk about him, like Big Brian and this, that. And I can remember watching one of his amateur fights. He was good, you know. He was like, you watch one of you lot, he must have been in the ABAs. He could move about like Ali, you know what I mean? But he wasn't as big as he is now, and he was young. But then I watched another bare knuckle, with the gloves on it, unlicensed fight. He fought someone with a blue Mohican. But this bloke was getting the better of him, like, but he couldn't knock Brian down. Brian took every punch on the chin, and he was laughing about it. But I don't think Big Brian trained for that fight, the unlicensed fight. I don't think he trained for it properly, because I see him as an amateur, like, and he could move like Muhammad Ali. He was like the wind, like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Every time he was ready, he stuck a big right hand or left hand, and the boy was gone, like, you know what I mean? He was a fantastic boxer. And he's a legend, like, you know what I mean? And he admits what he's done in the past. You know what I mean? He's done wrong in the past. I've done wrong. You've done wrong. We've put our hands up. We're sorry. We're not going to do it no more. That's it. And I don't think I was that bad. I just shot a few houses up and shot a couple of people, and yeah, I know, fucking hell. But I've done a bit of bird, so, you know, I've learned my lesson now. And I couldn't leave my wife, because if she left me, I'd think I'd go fucking mental, like. She's the governor. She's my governor. She tells me off.
That's the best thing. That's the best thing about it. You're remorseful. You've apologized to people. You've served your time. You did your crime. You've served your time. But listen, you found happiness, and I don't think anybody would begrudge you that, mate.
I admit the only fights I ever lost was with women. I couldn't fight a woman. I don't know why, but even now, like, my missus fucking hits me, I back down, like, you know. And I think that as a kid, you ripped. Hey, look at this dog. Here, where is he?
Oh, yeah.
Someone give me. He said he's a bully, whatever he is, a bully dog.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a husky here as well.
Yeah.
He keeps chewing my ears all the time. But I'd like people out there, like if you got children, that please get them the best education you can, like because we're moving into modern times, real modern times now. I mean, you know, everything will be done by computer. With people like me with no education, we will be left behind. And all I want to see, parents, please educate your children, like, you know what I mean? And you know, love everyone. You know, don't hate no one. Forgive people, like, you know what I mean? If they're wrong uns, then don't have nothing to do with them, like, you know what I mean? Leave them be. But, you know what I mean? I look back now, it's like watching Once Upon a Time in America with all the old boys, like, you know what I mean? It was great. We had some great times, and we're falling out now and again. But all they got to do is phone me up, and they know I'm solid, and I stand by them no matter what, you know what I mean? And the same as you, sir. We've had some great times together, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
can
yeah,
remember
man.
you coming in with your fucking suave suits and always a couple of big boys with you, like. And it was lovely. Who's he, like, you know what I mean? Hey, he's from up north. No, Newcastle, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right,
From
mate. Yeah,
Newcastle, like, you know what I mean? And he used to look like the Crays. You know what I mean? He used to dress up like the Crays. And it was the bollocks, like. And we'd have a table up there, probably 100 top gangsters, like. Or you could write books about them, like, you know what I mean? Dave's always been a good mate to me, like. He's always spoke to me, like, and said, listen, you want to phone some of the old boys up and tell them how you're getting on and that. You know what I mean? Are you falling out over the years or you don't get on? He said, Norman, like, you know what I mean? It's difficult. And I have made a few phone calls and I've said, you know what I mean? Some of them I've should have shown them a lot more respect, but they've always been in my hearts. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I used to knock about Freddie Foreman. I used to love Freddie. I went on tours with Freddie Foreman, like Joey thing, but went back to, moved over to, she keeps hitting me now. She doesn't want me to name names, like, because
yeah.
they're old gangsters. I don't want to embarrass them. And, you know
No,
what I
listen,
mean?
Norman, you've paid your respect. I think you've done a great job, mate. And listen, you're plugging the book. I'm going to put a link down below for people to buy the book, which will be great. Listen, I'm not going to take any more of your time. We've done an hour. Fantastic, mate. Some great stories. I think you've given a great teaser for the book. Make sure you go and buy it, people. Norman, been an absolute pleasure, mate, and look forward to seeing you.
I love you all. I honestly love everyone. I love you all. God bless you. And let's have some good times. God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Take care. You are the Guvnor.
Bye bye.